Okay, well, let's call to order our meeting for Thursday, November 21st at 3 p.m. Our first agenda item is approval of minutes. Do you have any changes?
I did not see. Happy,
I didn't have any adjustments.
Okay.
happy to approve the minutes.
Okay, you move to approve. Do you have a second?
My second.
All those in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Number 2, Tourism and Arts Commission Ordinance Update.
I do have an update real quick. Ashley, let me get into my email real quick. So I sent the actual ordinance, what has the whereas clauses to Ashley to review. And she came back and just had one minor suggestion. And what it was is this, she felt that where we have served as advisors to the city council for any issues concerning tourism and arts, she felt that was redundant with the one right below it.
Okay.
Yeah, that
Sorry.
makes sense.
So that was her only suggestion.
That makes
If we
sense
were,
to take it out.
yeah, so
That is kind of redundant, I
Which
agree.
page are we on? Sorry.
But this one, the review.
Oh, the review
Here.
drafts. Okay.
And it says the highlighted ones, the fourth one down is serve as advisors. Then it totally is redundant to what.
Oh, yeah.
I'm wondering. Going back to the original, why, if there was more to that originally and it got pared down and what are we losing? I guess I'm trying to remember how we got to a one sentence here.
yeah, I have no idea, to be honest, because we did so many changes back and forth and.
Yeah.
But I do, when you read through everything, it is expanded upon that sentence, so,
It is.
I don't know that we would lose anything as far as the language if we removed it.
Because if you read all this stuff, it pretty much encompasses all that.
Yeah. I guess I mean, it was put in for a reason. And I know we pared a lot of stuff out of here and I just trying to, without going back and seeing the original, I can't remember exactly what, why these two things were put in here separately originally.
And they may have been, it may have started out as one and then we just elaborated on it some more.
Okay.
You want me to try and pull up?
Well, it'll take a little bit to study.
Okay.
So this is on the schedule to be approved at the December 3rd council meeting. And the packet for that meeting goes out tomorrow.
Okay.
That's different.
Yeah, it does seem redundant, but I understand what you're saying about. Were those both in place before or?
Yeah, I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe we just did maybe more adding than subtracting here, but. Because we had a sentence in there, service advisors or service the public face of tourism and arts.
Oh, that's,
And then that was changed to advise on issues related to tourism and arts. Okay, so that's the reason why. So this service advisors stood by itself. And then the next one down originally said, service the public face. And that got changed to advise on issues.
issues.
Oh, yeah. because
Makes that kind of-
like, what's that mean?
Yeah.
So that was one of her what's that mean questions. Okay.
So do we feel comfortable in eliminating
Okay, what's
service
the
advisors?
collect and advise? And requested by. Okay, yeah,
Or should we have serve
I don't see.
as advisors on to city council on? Yeah,
I'm okay with deleting. I don't want to have to go back to Ashley again and spend more money on Ashley.
I
Yeah,
don't either. I just
I mean, you could almost
go with how we got.
those if you wanted.
what I'm
But
thinking.
I don't see any pro or con to doing that.
Yeah,
so.
Okay, yeah, let's go ahead and take.
I think
that
the only
step.
piece we're missing is 2 city council, but that's minutia, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, it looks like Jackie's on.
Who is?
Jackie.
Oh, Jackie. Okay, so we're okay with that one?
Hey, Jackie, can you hear us?
I can.
Okay.
Hi, Jack. We already approved the minutes. We're on to number 2, so.
I,
just-
I saw it. It was,
Okay. Oh, you were there. Okay. So we feel okay deleting then the service advisors.
I'm okay with that.
Mhm.
Okay.
Oh. And then what's next?
So if we clean that up, and then that'll be what's submitted in the packet for their work session or
To vote.
to vote.
So what's gonna happen is I'm putting the packet out tomorrow,
Okay.
because I'm hoping to take next week off.
Yes.
Right. So my packet's gonna go out tomorrow and it's an ordinance, so we're gonna have an ordinance. This is gonna be the exhibit A to the ordinance. And then council will review it and then the process is reading it twice by title.
Okay.
So then they'll say, they have a chance if they want to make any changes, they can, they typically don't, but if something weird came up. And then they would read it twice by title and then it would be in effect in 30 days.
Okay.
And then, just so you know, the way our code works online, they only update it like once a quarter. And so this will be in effect in 30 days, but it will not be referenced on our website in the municipal code section, but it will be listed in the ordinances section.
Okay.
So just, it's kind of one of those weird things that it takes a while to get the code updated.
Okay.
What's the date of their meeting?
December 3rd.
Okay,
So I'll send you guys out a link tomorrow with the packet information.
so assuming they approve it, then it'll be effective on January 3rd, just right after the first of the year. Okay.
And so that way, it's on the agenda, you see the packet, everything.
And all that.
Yep.
Okay. And then from the work session meeting, they were going to take that to their retreat in January. Is that?
Well, there's 2 retreats. There's
Okay.
A December retreat, which is kind of like the handover retreat,
Okay.
the council, the new council. And then the new council will meet probably February or March after, they kind of get situated for a little
Okay.
bit. And they'll go through other things also.
Okay.
So, I mean, the TAC, the chamber, the whole TLT fund discussion will be one that they want to have with the new council.
Okay.
Are
So
those public meetings or?
those are very public.
They are,
meetings.
okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So we're still working on the dates for the December retreats.
Okay.
We still don't know who the second counselor is completely yet.
Right.
So I got an email out to everybody and I'm slowly getting dates back from them of what works.
Okay.
And I'm hoping to get everything from them and then talk to whoever the new one is.
Okay.
And then we'll have that set and it's posted on the website, Zoom's available. Whole thing.
Okay. Whole thing. Okay.
And I don't know what all the topics are gonna be. There's a pretty long list.
I
And so
bet there is.
they're gonna have to go through and whittle it down and decide what do you wanna talk about as a joint old and new, and what do you wanna talk about as a new one later on?
Okay.
They do their retreats in here and there. I can watch it on Zoom just like anything else.
Just like any other public meeting. You remember they used to be offsite in some random spot,
Yes.
and so,
Uh-huh.
and now with Zoom and everything, when we started doing retreats again, they all decided we need to continue doing the Zoom option. Well, state laws change now, you have to offer,
Okay.
if possible, a remote attendance, but it's just worked so well. And so we kept it going.
Okay.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect.
So then if it goes into account on January 3rd, then we could actually start having our meetings probably in February. If we're gonna do those monthly ones like we were talking and put it out. I don't know, how would do you put that out to the paper that, hey, here's the new way TAC is offering, and if you have anything, there's the monthly meetings, or I don't know, how do you put that word out?
I mean, there's a bunch of different ways. We can do a flyer, we can post things, word of mouth spreads a lot. We can put it on Facebook and have people share it. I think you guys are gonna wanna make sure you have, we kind of have a direction. You guys have some things you wanna work on already
Right.
without just outside interest too. So kind of decide amongst yourselves how we wanna do it and it just,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, Ashley had said that one time when we talked about sending a postcard out and asking people to give us suggestions, she's like, yeah, you can do that. I mean, there's a lot of things we can do. However, we gotta figure out what works for us.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Number 3, reviewing the Tourism and Arts Fund Program Guide.
This is essentially for the old way that TAC was operating, but we're not changing that. We're funding events and stuff like that, but there's just this new other way to like maybe fund events, not events, excuse me. Other things to fund that regarding tourism.
Not necessarily through the grant program though.
Okay, gotcha.
So this is still your grant program that follows the state law.
Okay,
And this does include art, so if they had an art related item that fell under the tourism laws, it would work.
okay.
But this is, looking at this, do we want to change any of the language? Do we want to change the time frame? You know, this is just, do we want to clean this up? Do, you know, what? Do we want to make any changes? This hasn't been updated since 2013,
Mhm.
so this is our chance to.
So are we thinking just in our, like you said, the grants or the art stuff? Are we thinking we have to put right on built for the possible new stuff? I mean, or do you want just this to be?
Well, this is still, it's all inclusive as long as it
Okay.
meets the requirements of the state law.
Okay,
So it's more of your program, you have a great program, you've got some decent guidelines, but it's, you want to make some tweaks, you know? One of the things is it talks about how we distribute quarterly
Mhm.
somewhere in here. Do we want to change that to say things like we can distribute once a year pending funds, or, I mean, this all, I haven't read through it in a while, I can't remember everything that's in there, but this is what you use to review your applications on.
mhm,
So actually, that one language might be in our application, not in here, but this is your review criteria. Oh, no, it does say here, TAF awards will be distributed on a quarterly basis with the just first distribution making November 15th. So this is our chance to kind of make some changes to it if you want.
So my understanding is, if I remember right, we were doing it quarterly. Primarily for the convenience of the folks responsible for getting the checks out.
No, we were doing it quarterly because we used to not have a reserve fund.
There was no reserve fund at the time. Now we have a reserve.
Yeah,
So we could technically even do it more frequently or,
I wouldn't suggest more frequently,
Less frequently, more money,
In full.
like in full.
or in full. We could do one check.
Yeah.
Because if they don't use it all, we're gonna get it back, or we should get it back. We could do that. That would be one check. I'm sure the finance department would like that.
Well, I mean, the number one thing that people going through the process say is that the quarterly, you know, having to upfront the money first, and that is difficult.
Yep.
So if there was a upfront or in full or, you know, beginning and end payments 2 instead of 4, you know, that would be, I would think, improvement in their eyes.
And we have the agreement that they have to sign before we give them any money, so in the agreement, it basically says if you don't use your fund, you return it, so they're signing saying that that's gonna be the case.
And the finance department and Bruce are fine if we gave out the money up front.
Nobody's, when we've talked about it in the past, there's never been any concern, because like we said, the reason it was quarterly before was because of the lack of funds.
Yeah.
mhm.
And now there is one. I would definitely, when we talked about it last month, we would want to word it in a way so that we aren't stuck to doing that in case we didn't have such a huge amount of
Yeah.
funds,
Oh, good
you know?
point. Yes.
So-
Correct.
Like my suggestion would be keep it the way it has been forever, but also put like at the discretion of the TAG, you know, funds permitted, maybe able to pay all up front or in full or something. That kind of just gives you a back door to do either way.
Yeah, I like that.
And that way, if we're sitting on a lot of money, you can go that way in the right situation.
yeah, I like the idea. Yeah, I like that. I also like the idea as much as possible of getting it up front, because I'm sitting there imagining I'm on the other side of this table and I'm waiting for the money to come. You know, it'd make my life a heck of a lot easier if I had it in hand.
Yeah, I mean, there were some of these organizations and individuals that put out their own money and, you know, cross their fingers.
Yeah.
It works.
We have the Northwest run is completely done and they haven't even gotten they're just getting their first order payment.
Jeez.
Oh, God. Yikes.
Yeah,
Okay,
so I think it'd be,
Discretion,
yeah.
then we can say, well, we're sitting on a load of money, all of these can get their money up front, but then if we have to, we could go back to that.
Yeah, some kind of verbiage to that
With
effect.
the understanding that the finance department does not want to do any more than 4 checks. They would prefer less.
so then on the application, do we need to change that to be,
Yeah, so.
what would your preference be for, no?
Okay. With everyone, we need to keep everyone.
Okay. Okay,
So this, a lot of the language in here just is regurgitated in your application, so if we go through here, then we'll update the application.
Okay.
Okay.
And then we'll see then what else is in the application that might not be in here, but I think most of it's just.
Yep,
This regurgitated.
I think so too.
We do have, what was the thing about, we discussed dates. Do we have the word shoulder? in there?
Yes, it's section 6B, second sentence. September through June, and shoulder season's mentioned right before that.
Oh, that's right.
So that was one of the things you guys talked about, maybe updating and changing.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. It's the hornet's nest, but I honestly believe that September is no longer shoulder season. And that obviously affects one longstanding
Yeah.
organization.
Does.
But it does say priority. So
Yeah.
if it's a really good thing and it's that, we still have, we can debate and talk that. But going forward, them aside, September is usually not when we want to invest money in marketing and
And I would argue
events.
June,
June is also,
Yeah, I would take June out of there nowadays too.
I would say
October to May.
October to May.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, you can always grandfather somebody in too.
yeah,
If you got an organization that's been around for a long time, doing something for a long time in September and,
well, and
Yeah.
also not hard and fast is priority, and so we can say,
Yeah.
this isn't our priority, and
yeah. And I imagine it'll run that way for a long time.
said that to the sea turtle dude. It's like, June, July, no.
Yeah.
And August.
But what it does is if someone comes in with a really good idea and they want to do September 2nd through the 5th, well, that's Labor Day weekend. Some years, so that's not when it's
Yeah.
needed.
Exactly.
When it's needed.
Okay, so
Other-
distribution change. Shoulder season change.
We're not changing our application date, are we? That's the only other date I see in here, the first Wednesday of May.
Is there anyone
Those
that,
are actually, it says in there the
It
first.
says application and grant guidelines will be available at City Hall the first week by the first Wednesday in March of each year. The application closing date is by the first Wednesday of May.
Oh, I didn't realize I had Wednesday.
And completed applications must be postmarked or hand delivered to City Hall by that date.
So.
I think I lost sound on you guys. I don't know if you can hear me. I can't hear you.
That is,
Oh,
That was red.
mine was red for a second. Now
I hear it now.
Yeah.
Oh.
I thought you guys just got really quiet. I was like, wow.
Really thinking,
Is this the master one?
Meditating on,
No,
on this date.
touch it, they will do it.
but are they independent?
No, because mine changed when you did.
Oh, it did? I.
Must be a daisy chain kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
Cause that happened once before in a meeting. I totally forgot that happened and no one could figure out where the sound went. Then they realized that somebody put papers on top of it. and-
Oh.
That's what I just did.
something.
Okay, good. Okay, so we're gonna switch it to the beginning. Application and grants will be available at City Hall by the beginning of March.
I'll just say, can I say in early March?
Okay,
So they'll be available in early March of each year.
Oh, yeah.
And then,
October to May.
then, the application closing date will be in May and completed applications must be, I'm gonna say, received by that date. Because we allow email now. It doesn't.
Oh,
have to be
yeah.
Postmarked or hand delivered.
Received.
In the, you done with that?
Yes.
In the very last five, section 7 evaluation criteria. Section C says, does the project enhance the arts or tourism in Cannon Beach? Should we add something if it's, for example, fair chunk of TAC money is going for the new restrooms over here? I don't know if that enhances arts or tourism, but it,
Yeah, I think it enhances tourism.
I mean, okay, you put that under tourism?
I would.
Yeah.
Or do we just,
How many locals do you know that use the?
No, I get the justification argument, but I didn't know if there's some other word that,
tourism experience?
or the tourism infrastructure or tourism, I don't know what the right word is
Yeah.
necessarily, but if we're kind of changing the ability to look at different things, do we need to define that, or is it just kind of, does that enhance tourism, period?
Because I think even when we look at different things, it still has to have a tourism aspect to it.
Correct.
So, because even the statue, when I ran it past Ashley, the only reason she agreed to the statue is because it was right next to an area where 2 RV parks walk by it all the time, so therefore it had, like, so I gave her the example of the art walk, that page on the Cannon Beach Chamber.
Mhm.
And I said, this is our art in town, they advertise it as a walking art piece.
Yeah,
And so she said, okay, yeah, then that art, there's enough people
Yeah.
walking by that, so it would count. But if we didn't have that connection to the art walk and tours, the tourism side,
right.
it wouldn't have counted for TAC money under the
Right.
TLC, yeah.
Okay.
So,
I mean, to me, that works, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
You want to be more specific about infrastructure or,
it's almost like, tourism related infrastructure, or maybe you don't need to say the word infrastructure, but,
I think that tourism is misleading, kind of.
well, it's just it's vague, and it's how you interpret it.
And I think it's probably good to leave it vague.
Yeah, that's probably
Because there's a lot of,
a little more leeway.
so when I was on the Facebook page, when looking at Protect Cannon Beach and seeing people arguing over the school and all that kind of crap, right? So it was interesting. to see people felt-
Thought they could spend the money on?
Yes, and
Yeah.
some of them were completely correct.
Yes.
But one, I can't remember who the dude was, but anyway, he was talking about, gave several good ideas, which we have actually done in a couple of cases. But the other one was, well, why can't we use it to pave the roads, tourists right on the roads?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that Ashley's gonna say no to that one. Lincoln City already got sued over that one, so let's not go there. But so it was interesting to see that other people were actually thinking outside the box, and it's like, well, yes, the bathrooms can be
Yeah.
spent money on. And so he had mentioned several infrastructure kinds of things, and when he said the roads, it's just like, you can't pay. the
Yeah.
roads
Yeah, there's just something,
with this money.
yeah,
But yes, you can enhance the bathrooms.
yeah.
That's, no, locals don't use the bathrooms as tourists, so. So it was interesting that there were people out there who were thinking like, well, what else could you do? It doesn't have to just be events, so.
Yeah, no, I anticipate we're gonna get a lot of
A lot of them.
that.
Yeah.
When we open up the floodgates to that.
But I'm not opposed to leaving it vague.
Okay, yeah,
I understand what you're thinking, but.
No, I was thinking the same thing originally.
Problem.
Yeah,
yeah, no, now that you say it out loud, I mean, I agree. Let's leave it a little more vague because you can talk to its relationship to
Yeah.
tourism.
Yeah, and then maybe somebody has an idea that we like, oh, didn't even occur to me because
Yeah.
they were thinking broader. I don't know.
broader.
Yeah.
Okay, can I go back to 3B? At the discretion of the TAC, the annual process may include a second application for new projects and programs if funding is available in an amount not to exceed 10% of the budgeted estimate.
Oh,
Jennifer.
I learn everything. I learn a lot all the time. There was something in here about the funds.
That's in section 3, you know.
Under timelines. Yeah, what is that? A second application cycle?
So there was something in here about the money received, and so what I was wondering is if it meant that there was more money.
Oh, I think this was back in the day when we were thinking, what if somebody has another idea? Doesn't fall within our little
Calendar, yeah.
And that we thought, well, we might do another application process if somebody came to us and said, but I have this idea and I didn't have it in early March or
Yeah.
whatever, or mid-May. And that as long as we had money, as long as there was money, we could actually take a second application. Am I remembering that right?
I wasn't a part of that there, but
Right.
that would go in line with, if you look at number 5C, it talks about, you know, if you have more money than what you have budgeted, one of the things it does talk about is ways you can use it. You can use it for the next year, you can cover a shortfall, or support such additional activities and programs recommended by TAC.
Okay,
So I think that that activity would then allow you to open up another grant cycle
Yes.
if you wanted.
yes,
So I think that would,
I think that covered, that's ringing a bell. Does that ring a bell to you, Greg?
It does.
We were on at that time or not?
Yeah.
That would make sense.
Vaguely ringing a bell back there.
So the
Because
question,
that was when we started to have a reserve. And it was like, well, what if somebody doesn't have one on our timeline and something cool comes up?
Yeah. No, it does ring a bell.
Yeah.
so do we feel it needs to stay in there?
Yeah.
And if so, do we feel that not to exceed? I guess my question is it's like the bathroom, for instance. I know that didn't go through an application process.
right, so that is not a TAC item, that is a TAC funded item. So a TAF, so the Tourism and Arts Fund has to go
Yeah.
through this application process.
Okay.
The city can't apply for an application because we're not a
Yeah.
profit. So that was just money from TAC.
Okay,
So it's where they get the.
yeah,
loans.
yeah,
This
yeah,
would allow you to open up the TAF grants.
grants.
To nonprofits.
So what does, I don't quite understand what that means. 10% of budgeted estimate?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure.
What does that mean?
too.
Was that of our, but
Of whose budget?
I would assume it meant it was that grant was no more than 10% of what the city had earmarked.
What I think it mean, I'm not sure though, but if they said we are expecting to get $200,000 and you actually got more than that, if you had more than 10% of that, you could open it back up.
Oh,
Oh.
That's what I'm thinking.
I think that might be the case too.
I think we should clean up that language a little bit
Yeah, it's
because it's,
pretty-
I don't quite understand.
If we just say, should funds be available?
Yeah, that makes more
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, maybe go there because 10%,
yeah,
yeah, because Jennifer, I see your logic, but I could also, when you were given that illustration and you say we get 200,000, then I'm thinking, oh, well, we got 20,000.
Right.
But now you're saying, no, that the amount we got exceeds 200,000 by 10%.
Right, and so this is back when they didn't have a lot of money.
Right.
So, right.
Yeah.
So I think,
But anyways, there's a couple different ways to interpret that, it seems like. So I think we need to kind of clean the language up a little
I
bit.
think,
about just omit everything after available.
yeah, if
Yeah.
funding is available.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
That'd be good.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
Now, this would also, I wonder, now we might want to put that stuff in the applications, like we talked about, the accountability, and things like that. That would be more, I guess, application information, not guidelines, because this is guidelines
Right.
to administer it. So, yeah.
Now, when you just said that thing about TAF versus TAC. The TAF fund is used for people who are connected to a nonprofit because of the RFP stuff that Ashley had talked about. They ask us for money, we say yes or no, how much, blah, blah, blah. TAC funding that you're talking about, still the same big pool, but that would be us saying, hey, city council, why don't you take 40,000 of our dollars and finish the bathrooms
Yes.
instead of waiting a year and a half
So
for
in
the
your,
money,
that's
correct?
exactly it. And so
Okay.
what happens on your budget now that you guys have more money is you have an actual line item specifically for TAP, and then you have one for tourism purpose.
Okay,
So you can spend, so that gives you the spending authority to spend some of the money you have. So if they didn't put it like that, you would only be able to spend like the TAP amount.
right,
So you
right.
have a TAP budget that you can do for grants to nonprofits.
Okay,
And then you have a tourism purpose line that you can do that anything that meets the state requirements.
okay, gotcha. I get it now.
How does it get allocated from the amount that comes in on a quarterly basis? So next quarter, if
Oh,
$200,000 comes in, does it all go into one holding and then,
so this is, we're estimating ahead of time what we think it's gonna come into, so it all goes into the same revenue account, we just expense it as two different line items.
okay,
So, and what Lori did was kind of looked at what we've been running grants about, and then I think she even bumped it up this year, so you had a little bit more, and she just dumps all the excess into tourism purpose. So that way, if you have it available to spend if you want. Because if it wasn't in there, if you leave it in the ending fund balance, you actually can't move it back in to spend it.
Oh.
Yeah, I learned this last year.
So
So,
wait, so then it goes into reserves and how can you not spend it if it's in your reserves?
because it would be the ending fund balance.
Yeah.
And so you can't spend money from the ending fund balance. That's basically saying, I'm not gonna spend it this year. I'm gonna end the year with this much money. So to be on the safe side, you stick it under tourism purpose, so that way you guys have the ability to spend it, even if you don't want to.
So, but at the end of June, if we have not spent that money in the TAF fund, doesn't that go to an ending balance?
No, because we're gonna carry it forward and we're gonna put it in the tourism purpose again next year.
Okay, so
Yeah.
technically, we would always be at zero.
You're always gonna be at zero in the budget, yes.
Okay.
And, I learned that
That seems like that's an accounting, one of those weird accounting things.
Which makes sense, the ones we learned that, we're like, oh, well, if you do it that way, you can't spend it like ever that year, because you put it in an ending fund, but if you say you could spend it, even if you don't spend it, you have the ability to spend it.
Okay.
That
Somebody-
sounds like
yeah.
accounting nonsense.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Somebody did their PhD dissertation on that one.
You know, don't get me started on contingencies, I learned a whole bunch about contingencies last year too, that I did not
I
realize,
feel
so.
this retained earnings, magical account of retained earnings. Doesn't mean anything. It's not real money. I don't understand retained earnings. This is why I'm not an accountant.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Oh,
Okay,
And if they,
Okay.
and if they
Well,
become
we-
excess, they can be taxed.
I know. Oh my God, I don't, oh,
Nobody knows what excess is. So.
yeah.
anything else?
I think
here?
that all those things made a lot of sense.
And we're gonna still be going over this a few more times. We'll go over the application and look at that. And then, we don't do our grant cycle until later anyway, so it just gives us a chance to get things started.
Okay,
So we'll probably wait a little bit longer until we make sure we don't wanna make any other changes before we send it to Ashley.
Okay.
Maybe get through the application too, and then we can send both to her.
Oh, this is the guidelines, not the ordinance itself. I thought, wait, we talked to them about the ordinance, and we're fucking with the ordinance, but we're not. They're gonna approve the ordinance and this is just our guideline. Yikes, okay, I get it.
And then when we go back and we do the application and we look at some of the criteria in there and things, we may wanna add certain things as the guidelines. I mean, cause this will help future people to know
Yeah.
what to look at. And then when we're looking at the application, it might trigger stuff like, oh, this would have been helpful to have in a guideline.
great.
All right.
Okay, so we feel good that we've,
And I searched, it doesn't actually use the phrase head and bed, so I wanted to, I checked, that doesn't use the word head or bed.
Okay.
Did that phrase is not in here?
Yeah. It's not.
It does say people traveling for more than 50 miles to Cannon Beach. Doesn't say heads in beds, though.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, I like that because, we certainly want to support the hotel and motel folks. We also want to be supporting the galleries and the shop owners and so forth. So more to it than just that. So, if you bring in a bunch of people for the day and they all go spend money in the shops and the galleries, I think we're accomplishing a certain amount of what we want to accomplish. So,
50 miles is directly from the state ordinance.
yeah,
That's that's what they,
that's,
I would agree with it. Get away from the heads and beds thing.
Great. Cool. So we're feeling comfortable with that. Next item is upcoming meeting schedule.
This is, do you guys want to, continue meeting? Do you want to take a break for the holidays? What's your thoughts?
I said, let's take a break. I don't know that there's a lot to be done until the city council approves the new ordinance, assuming they do, and it goes into effect. So I would be perfectly happy to wait until that goes into effect.
And then we could meet in the new year and then start looking at the next application cycle, look at the application itself, see about budget forms. We wanted to try to streamline the budget process. Or no, not the budget, financial statements, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
The financial statements that get submitted, that if we start looking at that in January, see how we can make the application easier for you guys to read. Cause that's something we've looked at a couple times.
Yeah.
Try to work on that.
Okay. That idea works for me.
And we can talk about what will our meeting schedule look like in terms of getting public comment or whatever.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
We can
Okay.
basically start planning your next year. Well, calendar.
Do we want to schedule January right now?
I'm good with scheduling. If
Yeah.
you guys are good scheduling out that.
I better get on my calendar or.
Sure.
And you've got the schedule for the room in there that far ahead?
Oh,
It's not that far ahead anymore, right?
I can actually book 1 year from today's date. I actually can't book 1 year from tomorrow's date until tomorrow. So I have to sometimes put notes on my calendar to go back and reserve a room because it's like I'm 3 days early.
I am not able to do the 13th through the 17th. Sorry.
So the only thing for me in January is Thursdays do not work.
Okay.
January 20th?
That's Martin Luther King Day and the city hall.
City Hall's closed.
I actually got smart recently and put the holidays on the council chambers because I kept booking things on holidays.
Right.
not realizing it was a holiday.
Can't do that.
Yeah, Barb has caught me on that several times. Okay.
I could do the 21st, just not in the morning, but we don't usually meet in the morning anyway.
Yeah, and it's booked in the morning, but it's available in the afternoon.
Oh, okay.
I could do the 21st.
Yeah, 21st works.
21st at 3 p.m.
I don't go that far out. That's fine.
Your calendar's clear, but that doesn't mean anything is what you're saying.
Yeah.
I can do that. I just have to Zoom.
Okay, Zoom is always an option.
Are we doing 3 again?
You stick with 3 because that worked better for Drea.
That's fine with
That's
me.
fine with me.
That's fine.
Council chambers. January 21st.
Tax meeting and
Okay.
we have 1 hour and 1 day before. Okay, that's good. Oh, no.
So then we'll wait to hear about future retreat days, if we want to sit in or Zoom on those.
You're gonna, that'll be sent
Okay.
in the email. You're sending email so we can know when to put that, because I would love to listen
Yeah.
to their, for many reasons.
Yeah.
Yes, 3 p.m. I was adding it on the schedule, but I forgot to put in the minutes. Yeah, I will send out an email when we get a retreat date scheduled.
Okay.
And then this one, again, this one will be the joint one, and then they're gonna have another one later on.
Oh, repeat, you mean, yes, of course.
Yeah, for the new council. I guess it's not new council, it's just new members.
Right.
You know.
And we're still 2 votes off. I didn't check the thing this week,
So
today.
I called I emailed the county this morning because all the numbers seemed to stay the same and I wasn't sure if it stayed the same or if it really, she didn't update. And so I got a hold of one of the county people and they said they actually didn't do the update yesterday.
Oh,
So the clerk is in training at a
Oh.
conference, and so they didn't do it, so the next update will be the 27th. And so that would be the update that would have happened last night, as well as anything left over. So there are 3 ballots that are still secured. So the county's already reached out to all people that had those ballots that the signatures didn't match. And she did say that they're down to 3, and then I heard from another resident that it used to be 5, so 2 of them were
Well,
cured.
so I'm assuming it's gonna be a recount regardless, if it's this close.
If it stays within 2, you're in the recount margin,
Okay.
because there's a formula. that
Yeah,
they
I know.
use. Yeah.
I heard all about the formula.
Yeah, so basically you're looking at 2 votes, so if it goes 2 votes, then yes, but it could, you never know.
Right.
That being this close, and
Yeah.
apparently Arch Cape is in the same situation.
With the water.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think she said they were like 1 vote away.
1 vote off.
So they'll have to potentially recount them as well.
I hope this convinces people to not be cute and snarky about write-in votes. Just saying.
Hmm.
I think it was very funny.
Okay,
We need an update from Mr. Tom.
yes, Mr. Tom.
So, couple of things. I got one quote, firm quote already. And then
Concrete or
I
bronze?
haven't found anybody who can do it in concrete.
Oh, wow, okay.
And I was actually met with Steve Jensen last week. I was up at his studio. And, you know, we kind of talked about it and he had the same feeling that I did, that, you know, concrete is porous. And, you know, that we might be in this same situation. We won't be, but somebody will be
Somebody
in
will,
this
yeah.
same situation 15 years from now. Yeah. So I won't be, I know that. Yeah, so bronze is still the best option. It is going to be expensive. I mean, the one quote I've got is be 103,000 to do all 3 of them.
Wow.
Oh, that's more than.
But, you know, Steve agreed too, that he said that just seems ridiculously expensive.
Yeah.
And so that could just be the people that we're at. So, I'd gotten the name of a foundry in Spokane. And they told me they would get a quote to me, but that was a couple weeks ago and I haven't heard from them. So I still have to follow up with them. And then Steve gave me the name of another foundry, that he has worked with. So I need to get a hold of him. He warned me already, I need to tune my ear to a strong Ukrainian accent. Because the guy who owns it is from Ukraine and he still has a very strong accent. So I got to get my ear tuned to that. So that I
Is
can.
there an app for that?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to do is I want to get the 3 quotes and see what we've got.
Yeah.
And, you know, kind of see where we're at. It's entirely possible that we're gonna have to do this. I mean, I could see doing it over 3 years.
Right, do
Just
one at a
one
time.
year,
Mhm.
you know, just as the money is there. I don't know how much the city is willing to pitch in on that. You know, but I don't think we should do 100% of it. City should do something, but you know, what that ratio would be, I don't really know. So that's something that we'll just have to talk to them about and see.
Okay.
But let's get the numbers first. So once I get the 3 quotes, which hopefully I'll have by the time we meet next.
Okay.
I'm sure I will by the time we meet next.
Okay.
Then we'll go from there. In the meantime, did we get any word on whether they can take those things down and put them into storage?
I don't know that I followed up on that. Maybe I sent an email and then I don't remember. I'm
Okay.
It's all about that.
Well, if we can follow up with that because, you know, we're in the stormy weather season right now.
Yeah.
And so this is when the most damage is going to be done. So if they could come down sometime in the next week or 2 and put into storage, that would probably be really beneficial.
Great. Thank you for that update. I had one item, someone reached out to me regarding a project that may or may not have been familiar with you guys in the past, which was the proposed in 2008 Second Street Access Plaza. You guys
Yeah.
remember this?
I'm sure Greg knows nothing about it.
Greg knows nothing about it.
I know all about it.
You know all about it because we know where you're located.
I know Rich Mays had, had talked about that at a point in time. And I know,
I even saw some renderings of it.
Yeah.
What is the proposal? I mean, I know the locations. but
Well,
what are they
it says
proposing to
here,
do?
the Access Plaza was designed by Jay Raskin in 2008 and it was shelved.
Oh, I see.
Anyhow, they were wondering, is there any interest in having
I'll look at it again. It's been a
a second look at that and whatnot? I don't have any history with or knowledge about beyond what was presented to me. So,
I was not involved in 2008, but I've heard rumblings about it. I've heard people talk about it,
Okay.
since. So I have no personal knowledge. I do know that one of the barriers to entry, I would imagine, is access. If you were to put a park in there, the beach house on the ocean front, which is one that I manage, don't own.
mhm.
But that you'd be removing their access for the most part. And Land's End to some extent too, although most of their parking's in the back. I know that was a subject of concern in 2008.
Yeah,
I also know there was a subject of concern of, anytime you have a kind of public area, and literally this thing is 50 feet from my living room.
mhm.
And also my bedroom, which is above my living room. In the summertime, people skateboarding down that hill all night long, people hanging out, people, the congregation aspect of it in where it is, I know that was brought up. Again,
all the people who were at Land's End staying on those rooms.
yeah,
Same thing, and anybody staying at
the
the.
Argonauta that goes
Yeah.
goes right there.
Huh.
And I just know those 2 points really got brought up a lot and then,
It takes away 2 or 3 parking spots, it looks like to me, street parking.
easily 3 on the right, easily 3 on the left
Okay,
or on the south side. So 6
6 parking.
at a minimum. And then, you could get into all the details and so forth. You'd probably take off a little bit more. And then
Aaron about storage while she's in here.
Okay. Actually, sorry, I just emailed you. This is perfect timing. I wasn't kidding. I literally just hit send. Since Karen walked in. I screwed up and was supposed to ask you something last month and I forgot. So the Fisherman Dance sculpture,
Yes.
Tom is actually working on getting quotes for casting it in bronze. They were wondering if it could be taken down for the winter to prevent further
Can we store it
deterioration.
somewhere?
Well, when we take it down, what are we doing with it?
Storing it.
Storing it.
That's where it gets dicey.
I know.
Because we're gonna be moving.
You're gonna be storing everything.
Yes. And
Like I said, there's a Quonset hut style building right down the end of the town. It's sitting pretty empty right at the moment at the school.
I mean, it's leaking, but
how you guys do it on garage? That's got a lot of real estate.
I park outside. That's all I gotta tell you.
I realize that, trying to find a location to store it could be a challenge, although, if you could maybe put it in the school somewhere, that'd be, but what I'm thinking is that, we're in the stormy part of the year right now, so this is when it's gonna sustain the most damage. And if it's getting close to the point where it's almost irreparable, then maybe that would be at least one way of preserving what we've got so far.
there's no place safe enough down at the school, one of the classrooms or I know that you don't think that the Quonset hut is safe enough because of the roof. But what about the classrooms? I know.
But we may need to use the classrooms for some of our own.
Right.
So I would wait until I see what's gonna happen down there before we would take it down and put it in.
Okay.
Because again, it's gonna be, if it has to be moved or bumped around and
Yeah.
stuff, that's where, I don't know, the thing won't split wide open once it's taken down, so it's kind of risky for us to take it down. Unless we're transporting it directly to where it needs to go.
Right.
So I would say we're safer leaving it as is
Okay.
and hope for the best. I mean, I know Kirk and the guys oiled it last season to try to preserve it as much as we could until we found somebody that could possibly do this. Like I told you guys in the email, our first thought was to just do it in concrete because it'd be more cost effective and quite durable. They could power wash it if they needed to and blah, blah, blah.
He was making the point that concrete is also porous.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
Yeah, I was-
Like bronze, that's for sure. The bronze was so expensive.
Yeah, yeah.
I was actually at Steve Jensen's studio last week talking with him about it and, yeah, he was also concerned about how porous concrete would be on that too. He did give me the name of another foundry. He gave me one foundry and I called them. The one that you gave me the name of,
The one, what I do, you know,
yeah, and they sent me an email and said, we'll be happy to quote on it, but they haven't sent me the quote, so I have to sort of follow up.
called them just because I knew them and they did our chicken and egg thing.
Good.
And so we had some report.
If you have a connection, if you want to, rattle their cage a little bit and ask them to get the quote, just, I want to get the 3 quotes on this and then figure out what we're gonna do.
Periodically, but I don't have anything planned soon, or I go make them visit and say, hey, gotta know what's the deal here.
Yeah, well, I'll follow
It
up.
was like a ballpark with the phone and it was like expensive.
Oh, it is expensive. Yeah, there's no doubt about it, but
Guys in Public Works said, okay, boss, where are you gonna get that money? So, it can do, so that's why we started looking at concrete.
I guess the other thing, if you don't feel comfortable taking them down, can they be tented somehow?
That's a DRB question if they'd allow me to do that.
Oh, yeah, because that would change your landscaping. I don't know.
That's tough. I mean, yeah, let me talk to the guys. I mean, if DRB let me, we could wrap them until the spring.
Yeah,
I could secure that so when the winds get high, it's not.
To preserve the art, DRB.
It's not gonna be attractive.
No,
no, it won't be attractive,
Winter.
but it's
It's
winter, so.
protecting the art.
Let me do that.
They have a 6 p.m. meeting.
You just had on it with the DRB.
Big plastic haystack rockets.
Love it. Oh, God.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt.
You know.
Walk into the meeting at the wrong time for you.
Want to go to the DRB and ask that question?
No, I'm just telling you, all you have to do is spin it. Art, you're protecting the art.
No, I don't know why it's so difficult.
Oh, no.
That's a very doable thing. We could wrap it,
Yeah,
hopefully get it through the winter. But, let me explore the storage thing. I don't know how much those things weigh. I have one spot in the Public Works Committee building, Public Works, yard. OSHA doesn't like it. But I'm not due for an OSHA inspection for, it's not being recorded.
Yeah.
Think you're done talking.
La, la, la.
Let me just check on,
okay.
because we might be able to lay them where nothing's around this area, so. Let me see, I have to see what they weigh, because where I'm gonna put it, it has a weight tolerance.
Okay.
I don't see.
Okay,
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Hey, but now you don't have to worry about that email.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
You can delete it now.
Thank you.
that part out, please.
Looking on this rendering and it shows new concrete seawall. Were they planning on replacing the whole seawall?
Yeah, I remember hearing grumblings about that too. And I don't know what the life of that is, but took a beating yesterday with a big log.
Yeah, I bet it did. I haven't been down there for so long. I don't know what that wall looks like anymore, or the stairs either.
Yeah, it's between Land's End and, Land's End has got to be Land's End, I would imagine.
Right.
But between that and the Argonauta is the width of the street and everything, that is got to be 60 years, 70 years old.
Yeah, don't you think?
Yeah.
Hmm,
And,
interesting.
but that, if we're just talking about ideas like that, I mean,
Yeah.
that would be on the grand scale
Yeah.
Yeah,
of things. and
Yeah, I guess
a lot of discussion.
Exactly. And that's where I was like, okay, back to community giving ideas or resurrecting things, then.
But I mean, I've heard people talking about it, and so I knew that it was sort of in there, but I put accessibility before this, because that ain't gonna be accessible for a wheelchair either, because you're up.
Yeah,
You can't do anything to get it down.
yeah,
So,
and I don't know how it all works, but I've asked Karen about that before, like at Whale Park, just to have accessibility
Yes.
rather than a gravel trail.
yes,
And the requirements of how they have to build once they start, it gets really expensive.
Yep.
And space constraints and things like that. So that probably comes into play there too.
it does.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the thoughts is having accessibility at Whale Park.
Yeah.
Although we were talking about if the school, well, it's a non-issue right now immediately, but if the school were to happen, you could move accessibility down there, which might be easier. Although it's further around to get to there, I don't know. With the Moby mats, and the Moby mats are not going to be there for the time being. They're going to be at Tolovana next year. So it won't be next year that would happen anyway. So, but yeah, it's expensive. I knew that, so.
And then back on second, I think another thing was a little bit about commercial traffic, like the semi trucks that drop stuff off for all the restaurants
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
and their ability to get in and out of there. Because if it was to come out and interfere with the second and large intersection at all, and all of a sudden US Foods can't
Yep,
deliver, that changes a lot of things.
because there's two, I mean, there's
Yeah.
Tano's and there's the Insomnia there.
Yeah.
Well, and Bruce, I mean, not Bruce is the smokehouse and,
Smokehouse, and then they also, when they park there, they deliver pretty much across Hemlock as well
okay,
to
gotcha. Bill's,
Fireside and Bill's and
okay, got
so
it.
they park there daily,
Mhm.
and usually it's between 5 and 7 in the morning.
Right.
But they're coming in.
No, because your bedroom's right there.
Yeah.
And they, but the ability, because they can't back out, they have to be able to come out and go left, down Spruce, and
Yeah.
up the hill and then back down.
Yeah,
And, there's just things that are probably in the TSP about all that.
right.
But I remember at the time, that was one of the concerns.
Issues.
That's not.
I just assume it was originated just kind of as a Cannon Beach version of the spit or something,
Yeah.
I mean, but at the same time,
I mean, well, I will
Yeah.
admit, when you just glance at it on the surface, it looks like a good idea.
Totally. It looks cool.
Looks cool and all that, but then, like you say, you get into
Yeah,
the
that.
details of it and it
Yeah.
gets to be pretty tricky, so, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, trust me, if you've ever seen my collection of motorhomes doing 28-point turns there. I am not a fan. I would mark it off to traffic like that, not even a park. Put posts and
yeah,
don't let cars go up there. If I had, if I could do
Yeah.
it. So I like the idea of something, but I remember the 2008 plans were a little more grandiose than the space would allow at the time, kind of, it was kind of brainstorming. That's how I interpreted it, but.
Okay.
But
so. we discuss it, then we,
Because all those problems are still a problem.
yeah,
None of those have gone away.
yeah, but I mean, I think that's a great thing for someone that has interest in that to come to and say, hey, I want to do it. And our job is to say, well, how much does it cost? What are you looking for?
yeah.
And not to-
We don't have any
Not to
update.
whittle out all the things.
Yeah,
And I don't know what the TSP plan said about second.
I don't recall either.
I don't,
I'd have to go back and look. I remember being in some of those discussions because I remember one time the idea of a roundabout right there
okay,
that wouldn't allow you to go up, but you'd allow you to go to Webb's and allow you to go to the coaster or
Yeah.
Spruce, or not Spruce, but down Second. The overall feedback was there's not enough space,
oh, okay.
with where the buildings are, you can't make a roundabout. So that got kind of shot down pretty quick. But, you see it in, pick a city where they have, like in Hermosa Beach, the Strand, where, it's all closed off and it's only, humans that
Yeah,
go in that spot. Someone comes up with a proposal like that, it'd be interesting.
yeah. It seems like I keep hearing back to pedestrian, only accessibility and whatnot, but
But the Argonaut has 2 parking spaces that are inside of that,
Inside of that. bay.
not street, they're
Inside, yeah,
on the land.
and then that private home.
Yeah,
So, I mean, this gets brought, we talk about it.
So in this situation.
Yeah,
So I looked up the TSC plan because I was curious. And it does have a Hemlock Pedestrian Plaza, First Street to Third Street, and it does talk about doing a temporary pedestrian plaza between First and Second. Because this is in the TSP plan, that's probably better suited to be discussed as part of the TSP plan, that thing. So this might not be the best avenue
Yeah.
for it. And we do have, with the council switchover, obviously, we were gonna be talking about the TSP plan anyways. We moved that to the retreat so they can talk about it, so that will be coming up a lot more. Right now, what we're working on with the TSP plan is electric charging stations.
mhm,
So I'm working with a consultant on getting some information on that, but this would be a great thing for them to maybe go to council and say, hey, I really would like you guys, when you're looking at the TSP plan, or they can email council.
okay,
And you know, I really think this plaza, we should be talking about it, because if council hears from the community on things like that, they know that that's stuff that people want.
okay,
But because this is something that's in the TSP, it's probably better to let the
Yeah.
TSP
deal with it.
on that one.
Okay, well then I'll follow up with the person that brought it to my attention and direct them in that route.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the history and the discussion. Well, yeah, and like I said, you know, you're talking about something that was, 16 years ago with no pricing and, that kind of stuff.
And I'm sure it's cheaper now.
Oh, I'm sure. It has to be.
You bet. You get
It
it.
has to be. Any other items for good of the order? No? Okay, let's adjourn this.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
There
you.
was discuss after all, Tom.
Yeah. We were only a few minutes over an hour.
Oh, it's not too bad.
Yeah, that's not bad.